Yo, how's it going, bros? Asna here. Now, the last time I did an overkill $800 Skylake build, which would max out any games at 1080p and even at 1440p with really good frame rates. But this PC is mostly meant for 1440p, as the graphics card in this one has 1440p as the sweet spot. This rig is sharp $1,000, but you do have $55 mail-in rebate. So if you're that kind of guy who uses mail-in rebates, then you can get this rig for $950. Now, when you talk about the benchmarks of this rig, it can run Battlefield 4 at 1440p with an average frame per second of 60, Star Wars Battlefront at ultra settings at 75 frames per second, CRYSIS 3 ultra settings 1440p 50 plus frames per second, Witcher 3 ultra settings at 1440p 40 plus frames per second. So all in all, an epic $1,000 gaming PC build. Now, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. The CPU, I chose the Intel Core i5 4690K 3.5 GHz quad core processor. This CPU is about $225, as this is a K series CPU. You can overclock this beast and get the hell performance out of it. This has a boost clock up to 3.9 GHz and can be overclocked at 4.4 GHz. This is a beast i5 processor in the Haswell architecture for gaming, but it does lag a little bit in video editing, live streaming, and rendering. But if you want those, I recommend you guys go get an i7, as i7 is an overall beast in gaming, live streaming, rendering, and editing. But our main objective in this one is a gaming PC, so I recommend you guys going with the i5 4690K, as it is a beast in gaming. But you also can do a little of live streaming, rendering, and editing, but you can't do that performance which you'll get in Core i7 processors. This is a 64-bit processor and it has 6 MB L3 cache. It has no hyper-threading and has dedicated graphics. All in all, a beast CPU for $1,000. Now, moving into the motherboard, as this is a K series CPU we have above, we do need a Z series motherboard for overclocking. We have the Gigabyte Z97 SG3 ATX LG1150 motherboard at $95, but you do have $5 main rebate. This is a solid motherboard for $100. It has all the features we need. It is an ATX motherboard on the LG1150 socket. It has 4 RAM slots allowing up to maximum memory of 32 gigs DDR3 RAM running at 3000 MHz. It has RAID support, Crossfire support, 6 out of 6 GB ports, and onboard 3.0 USB ports. As a Z series motherboard, you can do overclock and get the maximum performance out of the CPU. Speaking of overclocking, we have the CPU cooler, which is the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo at $35, but you do have $10 main rebate. You can do decent overclocking to 4.4 GHz with this cooler. It's a perfect cooler for the budget. Now for the memory, I'm in the G.Skill Ripjaws 8 gigs, 24 gigs sticks, DDR3 RAM running at 1600 MHz. Now, we don't need more than 8 gigs or 12 gigs or 16 gigs because they're not required for nowadays gaming. They might recommend 16 gigs in, for example, in Star Wars Battlefront they did recommend 16 gigs of RAM, but it's not actually required. Most of them plays 8 gigs of RAM. They get really good settings and really good frame rates. It's not that required, but when you consider the 4 gigs of memory, it is a bit low because most of the PC games do consume above 6 gigs of RAM, but not completely 8 gigs of RAM, but 8 gigs is not less and not more. It's the perfect memory kit you can get for the budget out there. Now for the storage, I have the Western Caviar Digital Bro 1TB 3.5 inch 7200 RPM internal hard drive at $50. Now, we didn't fit an SSD in this one because our main aiming is gaming PCs. You might require SSDs when our main option is editing, live streaming, rendering, because SSDs can boot up everything hell quickly. You can boot up Windows, you can keep the Windows in the SSD and boot it like 5 seconds or 7 seconds. It's a beast in booting up fast. So for gaming, you can put some games in SSD and boot them very fast, but they won't give you the chance to get more frames per second and just max out every setting. So that's just useless. If our main aim is for gaming, you can get the mass storage because most of the games are really big. When you come to the Grand Theft Auto 5, the Witcher 3, the CRYSIS 3, all of the games which are new gen games, they're highly vast files. So we do need mass storage. Now moving to the graphics card, I went with the Asus Strix Radeon R9 390X 8 gigs of memory GDDR5 video card. This card is about $404, but you do have $20 main rebate. It has 8 gigs of GDDR5 clocked at 1.007 GHz. It has 4-way crossfire support. This is a beast graphics card and can outshine itself at 1440p. Yes, now some of you guys might be asking why didn't I go with the GTX 980. Yes, it is also an option, but it is costlier and couldn't fit in the $1,000 build. It do perform better than R9 390X, but this card has good performance to price ratio, and you cannot find much difference between 980 and 390X when we compare the games. Some games can outcome some of the graphics card and some do not. Now, moving to the power supply, I mean with the Corsair CX 750 watt 80 plus bronze certified semi-modular ATX power supply. It is about $60, but you do have $10 main rebate. So the maximum, the load which this rig is taking at idle is about 400 watt, but I went for 750 watt because some of you bros might overclock, so you might need some more volts when the rig is in load, so or it might damage your PC system and all those stuff. Now moving to the case, I'm in with the Corsair Spec 02 ATX mid tower case. This case is about $60, but you do have $15 main rebate. This is a good looking case. You have all the features you need. You do have a front panel USB ports, a really good case for the budget. Now when you consider the entire PC, this one is an epic $1,000 gaming PC. As I said, you can max out every games even at 1440p with really good settings and really good frame rates. But I do, it's not that required to max out every game, which is at ultra. You can have much better performance in medium or high settings, and you can't find that difference between the high and ultra, so you can just switch to high and get more settings and get more frame rates. Okay guys, so that's for this video. If you like the video, please definitely be sure to subscribe the video so you're notified every time when I upload a video. So guys, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out.